To understand how the modern Middle East was formed, we have to look through a very specific, unexpected lens, an East African scholarly dynasty. By the late 1700s, Ottoman Egypt was highly unstable. The local Mamluk military elites held the physical power and wealth, but the actual foundation holding society together was a deep transnational network of Islamic scholarship. Enter Abd al-Rahman al-Jabarti. His family traced their roots and their name to the al-Jabart region on the East African and Somali coast. This lineage gave him a unique standing in Cairo, a man fully embedded in the local elite, yet connected to a much wider world. He held real institutional power as the Sheikh of the Riwaq al-Jabartiya, the residential lodge for East African students at al-Azhar University. He was in the room when the most senior scholars made decisions. This specific vantage point gave him the distance to observe his own society with total clarity. And that was crucial, because in this exact era of Egyptian history, almost no local inhabitants were actively writing down what was happening. That silence broke in July 1798. A French fleet of 335 ships and 40,000 soldiers arrived on the Egyptian coast, led by Napoleon Bonaparte. The military force was accompanied by a corps of 150 scientists, scholars, and artists. Their stated mission was to catalog the country's history, institutions, and resources for European study. Al-Jabarti visited the French scholars at their newly established institute. He recorded genuine fascination with their scientific instruments and intellectual rigor, while simultaneously documenting his disgust for the violent occupation they were supporting. The sudden arrival of a European army into a centuries-old Ottoman Islamic order forced al-Jabarti into action. He began developing a meticulous method of daily documentation to capture the reality of his society before it disappeared. Bonaparte knew he couldn't hold Egypt by force alone. He launched a targeted ideological campaign designed to win over the local population. The French distributed a written proclamation. It started with the traditional Islamic opening phrase, the basmala, and went on to claim that the French forces were liberators who actually respected Islam more than the Mamluks did. Al-Jabarti approached the document with the forensic eye of an Arabic philologist. He understood that imperial legitimacy often rested on the quality of its paperwork. He recognized that the French were attempting to conquer the local reality through language. He turned the occupiers' own text into a battlefield to dismantle their claims. He documented the poor syntax, arguing a conqueror using clumsy translations lacked genuine Islamic knowledge. He pointed out a theological gap. Napoleon invoked "there is no God," but omitted the Prophet Muhammad. Blurring Bonaparte's and God's will was equivalent to claiming prophethood. Al-Jabarti's analysis reached a sharp conclusion. A leader unable to master the basic syntax of the Quran could not plausibly claim authority to defend it. By exposing these errors, he stripped the French of the Islamic authenticity they were desperate to project. The French evacuated in 1801. The ensuing power struggle eventually elevated a new, highly authoritarian ruler, Mehmed Ali Pasha. Mehmed Ali initiated aggressive military and economic reforms. These policies systematically dismantled the Ottoman and Mamluk social structures that had defined Cairo for centuries. As al-Jabarti documented the heavy taxes and social costs imposed by this new government, he faced intense political pressure. The state heavily discouraged his critical historical record. The chronicle evolved into a preservation project, a race to record a society Mehmed Ali was actively overwriting with his own modernization program. This urgency produced his 2,780-page magnum opus, Ajaib al-Athar, or The Marvelous Chronicles. The text weaves together the biographies of political elites with highly specific data on market prices, changing fashions, and the daily rhythms of life in Cairo's neighborhoods. Modern researchers rank him as a giant among his contemporaries, placing his work alongside the great historical records of world civilization. His writing provided future generations of educated Egyptians with a structured understanding of their own history, laying the intellectual groundwork for the Nahda, the Arab-Islamic cultural awakening of the 19th and 20th centuries. Al-Jabarti's work survived the French occupation and Mehmed Ali's reforms, ensuring the Ottoman era remained a visible part of Egypt's past rather than forgotten.